walk out of the Zoological Republic. If Nigeria were to be a sane country, that should have been a wake-up call for them to either adopt that referendum or conduct their own to compare. If Nigeria were to be a sane country, they would have conducted their own referendum to compare with the referendum that Mazi Samson have conducted. But they did not. Instead, they began to plot his kidnap. They began to blackmail him. They began to frame him up. They began to conduct false flag to blackmail him. And this is what they did for many years. And they were able to convince Finland with fake evidence to go and arrest Master Simon Ekpa. They were able to manipulate Finland because of economic interests. And they went and arrested Master Simon Ekpa with fake evidence. And mind you, Master Simon Ekpa was even arrested with any single evidence. It was after arresting Master Simon Ekpa, they kept him for 6 months before Nigeria began to provide evidence. When Mazi Samson was arrested, allegedly, there was no evidence. There was no evidence. It took 6 months to gather evidence before they will now brought him to court. And every single evidence that was brought were all fake, fabricated. They planned everything they could to see that they extradite Mazi Simon Ekpa from Finland to Nigeria, as they do always. They first of all planned a kidnap, which they are very good at. They kidnapped Omar Odiko. They were captured. They went to Kenya and kidnapped Nnamdi Kanu. They made an attempt to kidnap Mazi Simon Ekpa, but it did not work out for them because Mazi Simon Ekpa was at alert. And Europe is not the same as Africa. They couldn't succeed. They decided to go officially for extradition, sending Bianca Ono, an interior minister. They went to Finland to go and manipulate the extradition of Mazi Simon Ekpa. But they did not succeed. They did not succeed because Chukwu Okike Abiama is alive and watching. They did not succeed because Chukwu Okike Abiama was beside us. And what did they do? They intentionally poured in false information, unverified evidence, and they manipulated Finland judiciary to give Mazi Simon Ekpa 6 years. But as Chukwu Okike have it, he has an option for appeal. And Mazi Simon Ekpa filed in for appeal. We have been waiting for this appeal for the past 5 months. That have been announced, and we'll be announcing it. This appeal for the past 5 months. All is expecting that Nigeria will come to the court and defend themselves and defend the evidence that presented against Mazi Simon Ekpa. And Mazi Simon Ekpa will then defend himself. But to the greatest surprise, as the appeal kicked off, BIAFRANS poured into Finland. Human rights activists from all corners entered into Finland to observe what is happening. From Europe, from America, from Africa, they poured into Finland. And they are monitoring the case of Mazi Simon Ekpa, waiting for Nigeria to defend the evidence they have brought against an innocent man. Nobody showed up. The company they contracted that forged and formulated the evidence that was sent to Finland could not appear. The men they used to formulate all their lies, none of them showed up in the court. It was only the prosecutor. It is the prosecutor versus Mazi Simon Ekpa. Throughout this appeal, it has been the prosecutor versus Mazi Simon Ekpa. There was nobody to clarify the evidence. And the prosecutor in question knows nothing about Nigeria. The prosecutor in question is just working based on what is on his table, what I forwarded to him. And the disgrace cannot be mentioned. Why the prosecutor did everything he could to establish his case. The case of the prosecution was closed without anybody to come and testify or clarify the evidence before the prosecutor. It was just the prosecutor himself reading what was passed to him. There was nobody to expatiate or explain or defend the evidence that was provided. And the case of the prosecutor was closed. And now the defense was open, Simon Ekpa defense. And for the past days now, about 3 or 4 courts have seated now where Simon Ekpa defense is doing amazingly well. It is now on the table of Simon Ekpa to decimate and destroy every single nonsense that was presented against him. And as we speak, all this while, it has been his lead counsel, Attorney Tommy, that have been doing a good job with the technical team on the background, furnishing him with information and ideas. And he has been doing amazingly well. And for your information, most of the accusations against Simon Ekpa were things he did online. And everything that Simon Ekpa did online, you should know that Simon Ekpa is not just a street boy. He didn't just come into the Biafra struggle because others are coming. He knew the consequence of being a Biafran and engaging in Biafra struggle. For you to understand, you must know the background of Simon Ekpa before you can ever begin to understand what he's doing. He is not like people who went to abroad to hustle and all of a sudden you join the Biafra struggle. He didn't join Biafra struggle for fame or for money. He wanted to make impact. In fact, Simon Ekpa has been a humanitarian activist. He has been supporting his own people back there in Nigeria, in his state. He is doing a lot of humanitarian work with his own money. He has even been working for Nigerian government even before he joined the struggle in Finland. So he is not looking for popularity or money or anything because he had it already. What else would somebody who is living abroad, who has served in a country as a counselor, conducted election between you and the citizens of the country, and you won against a citizen? You won election against even the son of the person who was contesting against Simon, voted for Simon Ekpa instead of the father. And he won election and served as a counselor. Simon Ekpa has also served in the military in Finland. And he is an active politician in a leading party. So for somebody who have attained this height abroad, something that is a prayer point for many of us living abroad, our prayer point is to attain the height that Simon have attained in Finland. But what did he do? He stepped aside. He ignored all the glory, all the comfort, all the accolade, all the gift, all the cheering, all the popularity, and he came back and said, no, it is time to fight for my people. And he officially withdrew from politics in Finland. He didn't do it in secret. Officially, he announced it that he's withdrawing from politics in Finland to focus on Biafra agitation. And he did. Remember, Simon Ekpa is also a lawyer. He read international law. So I am trying to give you this background for you to know that he knows what he was going into. Even before ever he started, he made every single movement he's making official. He reported to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland. He went to their presidency and tendered petition. He went to their minister and tendered petition. He went to the house and tendered petition. Most of these things, we saw it, he had it on video. He played the videos. We saw the videos when he went for these meetings. And he began to agitate. Every single step he makes, he informed the Finland authorities. When we are going for convention, he informed the Finland authorities about the convention. He told them that the Biafrans are coming from convention. And in that convention, We unveiled in the public, the Liberation Army was unveiled. It wasn't a secret. The Navy, the Air Force, they were all unveiled with their banners. It wasn't done in the secret. Officially unveiled in Finland. When we were going for declaration also, Simon Ekpa and Joko went to the Finland authority and told them that Biafrans are coming to Biafra, to Finland, to declare Biafra, to redeclare Biafra. That the redeclaration of Biafra is going to happen in Finland. He went officially to inform the police, officially to inform the presidency, officially to inform their minister. And when he went to the police, I played a video here, what transpired. When he went to the police to tell them in Finland, they told him that this declaration is going to attract international attention. And he said, I know, and that is what I want. They told him, this declaration is going to draw the attention of the presidency. He said, I know, and that is what I want. If he doesn't do that, that means I'm not doing the right thing. I'm giving you this background for you to know that Simon Ekpa did not just come into this struggle like so many of us did. There are so many of us that came in, all we did is to come and support, continue to speak, have limits to what we will do and what we will not do, have our area that we have chosen. Simon Ekpa come on a different level. And when he came, Nnamdi Kanu recognized him and he made every single declaration in public. When he asked Nnamdi Kanu, are you ready to do everything? I say everything possible to make Nigeria come. Nnamdi Kanu said, and he said, before ever you will say yes, that me, I will be number one to follow you. And Nnamdi Kanu said, I will do everything. Do you think we will remain this way, begging and asking every day? He said, I will be the first person to follow you. When Nnamdi Kanu was asking for 100 men, he was also the person that came in the public and said that if you are looking for 100 men, I, Simon Ekpa and Joko, I am 50 men. Go and search for 50. We are good to go. And all these promises he made in the public. And from that moment, he never looked back. He never looked back. Nnamdi Kanu personally announced him and said that this particular person is bringing a new dimension into the struggle. There is nobody in this struggle that Nnamdi Kanu have announced the way he announced Simon Ekpa, including all these ones that have been there for donkey years, who are claiming what they are not. They were all there. They sacked the DOS, we were all there before Simon came in. And when Simon came in, he gave a time frame. Simon gave a time. He said, there is no way I will be here for 5 good years without an impact. He gave a time frame of 5 years to pursue Biafra and actualize it. And we saw the time frame of that 5 years. Within that 5 years, he was moving for declaration before he was taken out of the way. To show you that it is not just that he said it. Every single thing he says, he works towards it and pursues it. Nnamdi Kanu personally announced him. Not when he was in detention, though. Because when we say some good thing, it was not when he was in. Nnamdi Kanu was with us outside and he told us, go and listen to Simon Ekpa. He is bringing a new dimension to this very struggle. That this Simon is on another level. That was one of the programs. He said that he is on another level when it comes to his position and the issue of Biafra. Nnamdi Kanu did not see him as a threat. Even though he knows that he is connected, he has the knowledge and wisdom and the courage, and he knows what he's doing. Nnamdi Kanu did not see him as a threat. He did not see him as someone who is coming to overshadow him or someone who is going to take cover and overthrow him. No. Nnamdi Kanu opened his hand and embraced him. And from that moment, Simon Ekpa began to do exploit. And after the kidnapping of Nnamdi Kanu, Simon Ekpa said, I will never ever abandon Nnamdi Kanu. That he knows that his presence in IPOB was one of the reasons Nnamdi Kanu was attacked and hated. Simon Ekpa said it, that He knows that his presence in IPOB is one of the reasons he's been attacked and taken out. And for that, he will do everything humanly possible to see that Nnamdi Kanu comes out. And he keeps his word. He kept to his word until the day he was detained. He kept to his words. Doing everything humanly possible. And there was never a day he assumed the position of the leader of Biafra. Never. Mazi Simon Ekpa only assumed the position of followership. He only assumed the position of discipleship. He called himself disciple of Nnamdi Kanu. That was the only position he arrogated to himself. Disciple. Disciple. He identified himself every moment in all his programs. Disciple. And whenever a question of Nnamdi Kanu comes, he said, Nnamdi Kanu remains the leader of the struggle, no matter wherever he is. That wherever he is, as long as he's alive, he remains the leader of the struggle. He never arrogates himself to himself that leadership. Not even once. Every one of us know how we came about the Prime Minister title. Mazi Simon Ekpa, after the sacked DOS, began to destroy every structure of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The sacked DOS, they were busy destroying every structure of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, trying to cage him and remove his name. This is you see them doing today. They wanted to start it from 2021, but Mazi Simon Ekpa was the barrier. They couldn't do what they are doing now because Mazi Simon was there. He was focusing them. So their energy was diverted to Mazi Simon Ekpa. All their broadcast and energy was diverted. Mazi Simon was taking the whole bullet. He was taking the whole bullet from Mazi and they couldn't do anything. And he stopped them from removing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu from the picture. Took all the bullets. And when he saw their plans, that was when he distanced himself from the title, IPOB. They themselves called us autopilot. Many of you don't know how autopilot came about. Autopilot was just a prophecy that Mazi Simon gave on his live stream. A prophecy that Mazi Simon gave in his live stream when he was making live. He said that this struggle now has gotten to another level. And in that program, he was warning the sacked DOS to be very careful on what they are doing. That they should listen to the Biafrans and do the right thing before it is too late. That if care is not taken, that a time will come when the struggle will be in autopilot. That's what the prophecy gave. That a time will come when the Biafra struggle will be on autopilot. Instead of them listening, they attack him. And when the time came, the struggle entered into autopilot. Everybody were doing what they are supposed to do on their own to liberate themselves. It was no longer about DOS or whatever. And from there, they began to call us autopilot. And we accepted the name. We accepted the name Google Fake and we began to answer autopilot. That's how autopilot came about. We began to work with the name autopilot. And that also helped to distance us from the infiltrators. From those who have turned themselves to Nigerian government political pressure group. Because after the kidnapping of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, they turned IPOB into Nigerian political pressure group. The politicians entered to hijack. And many of them were receiving money and working for the politicians. Mazi Simon Ekpa distance, we took the name they gave us, autopilot, and we began to work with it. Until we got to an estate when it has become necessary that there must be a government in exile. And this government in exile that we are talking about has been existing before Mazi Simon Ekpa came into the struggle. If you don't know, government in exile was under Mazi Nnamdi. There was government in exile under Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. There was government in exile under Mazi Nnamdi Kanu that he is aware. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was very much aware. And Mazi Simon Ekpa spoke about it. And what did he do? He reached out to them and told them to start their work. Start their work. So that autopilot will give them the support. When he told them to start their work, they did not. Instead of them to go to work, they say, okay, hold on, let's see whether P2B will win. They were watering everything down. And Mazi Simon said they are not serious. And Mazi Simon Ekpa took over and created a new government in exile, because the original one that has been there has been politicized. They have destroyed it then. Mazi Simon, just like Mazi Nnamdi Kanu did today and redeemed the IPOB from the infiltrators, Mazi Simon Ekpa took away the Biafra government in exile from those infiltrators and created the original and the new government in exile that we have today. And when the government in exile was created, there will be leaders. There are people that are going to be officiating. For you to be able to go into some diplomatic discussions and thoughts, there must be a prime minister. And election was conducted, and there is no other person more qualified than him. We chose him to be the prime minister of Biafra Republic Government in Exile. That was how Mazi Simon Ekpa became the prime minister of Biafra Republic Government in Exile. He didn't impose himself. He didn't arrogate to himself. He never took any position of leadership. It was necessary to have a prime minister to run the government in exile. That was why he became the prime minister. And he did excellently well. It was then he formed the Liberation Army. It was then he formed the Air Force and the Navy. It was then he began to work on the Constitution, begin to work on the ID card, and begin to work on so many things. Mazi Simon Ekpa structured every single thing. It was then he planned the self-referendum to get the consent of Biafra. So tomorrow he wouldn't say that he's imposing it on anybody. It was that he conducted and structured the self-referendum, and we did the self-referendum successfully. On ground, online, Biafrans across the world participated. There are evidence to that everywhere. There are evidence to that very well. After the referendum, Mazi Simon Ekpa also organized convention. Biafrans flew from across the world, come to the convention. And in that convention, that was where the Liberation Army was unveiled, the Air Force was unveiled, the Navy was unveiled, police were unveiled. Everything, every structure of a government, functioning government, was unveiled. The Biafra, the homeland, the government in the homeland was also unveiled. Officials of the government in the homeland was also unveiled. A complete structure was unveiled in Finland during the convention, done by our Prime Minister Mazi Simon Ekpa. It was also Mazi Simon Ekpa that planned the redeclaration of Biafra that was supposed to happen. He planned the redeclaration of Biafra, and he said it's going to happen on the 2nd December. That was the original plan. Mazi Simon Ekpa planned the declaration from beginning to the end. It was just either a month to the time to declaration that he was taken away. I think he was taken away in November. Yeah, a month to the time. He was taken away from us. He planned the redeclaration of Biafra. And in that redeclaration, Mazi Simon Ekpa have made enough plan, inviting important personalities that will be present in that very declaration to legitimize it. There were important personalities that were supposed to be in that very declaration to legitimize it from different parts of the world, from different countries that are supposed to participate. Everything was planned by Mazi Simon Ekpa. Many things were put in place. Permission was gotten from Finland authorities. And they were told, we are coming for the redeclaration of Biafra. He didn't even stop. Mazi Simon Ekpa even wrote to the Nigerian government. He wrote to the Nigerian government and told them, this is what we're doing. He wrote to politicians in the southeast. Politicians in Biafra land, they were informed. And even he volunteered to pay for their ticket. Anyone that wants to come to face him face to face, come to Finland. If you want to come and vote, come there. This was what my Simon Ekpa. You see, when we are talking about Simon Ekpa, I took my time to explain it because some of us do not know him. Some of us think it's somebody who is just somewhere broadcasting. You just one guy who is just somewhere broadcasting and just talking about what he does not know. That is why I took time to explain this for you to know. When we are talking about Mazi Simon Ekpa, he is not just a man on the street. He knows what he was doing. He knows what he was going into. He knows what he has done. And he has the wisdom and knowledge. All this is being said. Today, Nigerian government came up against an innocent man with blackmail, propaganda, and all manner of lies against him. And he is in the court of Finland defending himself. By the way, there is no court today. Today is a break in Finland. On the appeal of Mazi Simon Ekpa, today is a break. There is no court today. So you don't misquote me and say I'm talking about court. There is no court happening in Finland today. Court is not sitting today. Today is a break. There is no court happening in Finland today. So, but all this process of defense today that they are bringing, Mazi Simon Ekpa now is defending every single actions he has taken through his legal team, defense team. The defense team are the one putting up cases and putting up counter evidence against the Nigerian government and the court. Day before yesterday and yesterday. But we are hoping that on Friday, Mazi Simon Ekpa Njoku will be on the front line. He will be standing up personally to defend himself openly and say it the way it is done for the world to see. So, when you have seen this background, you have to, what I'm trying to make you understand that Mazi Simon Ekpa is not a novice. Like in this case, the case of Nigeria and Biafra is very, very clear. It's a clear case. It's a very clear case. Apart from the political interest, manipulation, and global conspiracy, our case is clean and clear, and we are winning. Just like Mazi Simon have said in several occasions in that court. Yesterday was amazing. Like yesterday, somebody was in court yesterday who came to testify. You know, Simon Ekpa, his team, his legal team are presenting people also to testify. They are presenting people to testify. Testimony was heard yesterday on a very neutral ground, and the person that was called up to testify yesterday testified on a ground that is unbelievable. And from all the things that is happening, it is turning out for our own good. It is turning out good. And more testimonies are going to come. Because the Nigerian government, we are supposed to come and testify. Nigerian government never came. They did not come to testify. They did not come to clarify the evidences they got. So it is the turn of Mazi Simon Ekpa team to bring their own testimony or possibly invite people from different parts of the world or different parts of country or different areas to come and testify of what they know about the insecurity in the Southeast. And yesterday, somebody was called to testify about the insecurity in the Southeast in the Finnish court. And Mazi Simon Ekpa was vindicated once again. Mazi Simon Ekpa, this is not about lying. It is a court that Finland court is not like a Nigerian court where you come and say anything you like. So the person that was called up yesterday stated the facts with evidence. And the funny thing is that most of the evidence are things that you can browse immediately. You can see the court of Finland. There is a computer there before your front. That whenever somebody says something, you just log in to Google in that computer and you browse and you see it for yourself. So most of the evidence that is going to be used somewhere is in the public. It's in the public. Every accusation they're making against Mazi Simon Ekpa, it is a very flimsy. Even me, myself, as I'm here, if I'm in that court, I can defend Mazi Simon Ekpa to the last. Look at the last Southeast Security Summit. The very first Southeast Security Summit. In that place, Mazi Simon Ekpa's name was not mentioned. A general came out, a retired general came out and said that the problem started long before now. The problem started from 1970. And he traced it down to 2015. And he said from 2015 till date, that more than 5,000 Biafrans have been murdered. He didn't say 5,000 criminals. He didn't say 5,000 kidnappers. He didn't say 5,000 terrorists. 5,000 innocent Biafra, more than 5,000 have been murdered. Since 2015 to date. When did Mazi Simon Ekpa came into the struggle? When did Mazi Simon Ekpa came into the struggle? When? The genesis of this very insecurity, every one of us knows that it was Python dance. When Buhari introduced the Python dance, thousands of Biafrans were murdered in cold blood, starting from the home of Nnamdi Kanu. Their first mission was to assassinate Nnamdi Kanu. They went to assassinate him, and luckily for Nnamdi Kanu, he escaped. He escaped assassination. And 28 men were gunned down. Jack, the dog, was killed. In so many other places, there were many bodies that were discovered in the forest where their hands were tied at the back. I still have the videos. I still have the pictures. Where Biafrans were discovered, they tied their hand by their back and shot them in cold blood. Simply because they are Biafrans. And this was spoken about in the Southeast Summit that just ended. That more than 5,000 innocent youths in Biafra land have been murdered in cold blood. And the man was urging the governors to speak about that. And also, not only that, that thousands and millions of Biafrans are languishing in jail. That they lock them up and nobody goes for them. Nobody dares go close to ask about them. In all prison yards in Nigeria, Biafrans are locked up. Not because they committed any crime, not because they kidnapped, not because they killed anybody, simply because they are identified as Biafrans in various prisons in Nigeria. How could you have this outstanding and enormous evidence, and yet you are accusing Mazi Simon Ekpa of being responsible for insecurity in the Southeast? An independent body has also indicted Buhari, late Buhari, for sponsoring a bubago to murder innocent people in Biafra land. Using the politicians, using the governors. We saw when they murdered 14 boys in Imo State who went for traditional wedding. The video is in the public. Everything I'm telling you, I tell you here, they are all in the public. They are not secrets. They are verifiable information that are not in the public. Up to today, they are still in the public. 14 innocent boys were murdered in cold blood in Imo State who went for wedding, and they were accusing them of being ESN. They accused them of being ESN, and they went there and they gunned them down. Innocent boys. Their family members came online, they cried and they shouted. The videos are still there. You can still verify and see. How could these things be available? Very much available. And somebody will come and I'll be accusing another person of being responsible for the insecurity.